I'm going to take apart the whole play field since the flippers aren't there and give it a good cleaning. So I'm going to start taking components off. I'm going to swap them to the blanket over there where they go. And then I'm going to give it a good clean once the play field is all stripped. I'm not sure how clean I'll be able to get it. I should be able to get it looking at least better than it currently is. So let's do that. All right, here it is with all the plastics off. Pretty crusty and dusty, but I'll get that taken care of. I want to take a note of where all the plastics go and where all the little fasteners go. Luckily, this is a pretty simple game, so shouldn't be too difficult to get it back together. I also want to take this opportunity to figure out what's under this electrical tape. So let's go ahead and discover that. Oh yeah, it's leaving lots of grime on there. That'll be fun to clean. But overall, this doesn't look bad. I was kind of expecting it to be missing a plate or something, but looks like the little switch is still there. The little hammer's still there. So I'm assuming what happened was the solenoid for the kick out stopped working at one point, probably due to board issues. And they got tired of the ball getting stuck there every time it went in the saucer, so they just taped it over. So hopefully with the new boards in place, that should just kind of work. I tested that coil and it tested good, so we'll see. All right, time to take the rest of the all the rubbers and the screws out. If you're sensitive to explicit content, you may want to look away now, because here is a completely naked Evel Knievel playfield. I even took the pop bumpers off because it's the only way I can feel anything. So this is just about ready to get scrubbed down. I have a couple ideas I want to try there. But first, should probably clean all these components. A lot of these are really gross and dirty. And so here's the plan. All the small dirty stuff is going to go in the ultrasonic cleaner up here. Except the plastics. I learned the hard way with the Lethal Weapon. Don't put painted plastics into an ultrasonic cleaner. But once it's all fairly clean in the ultrasonic cleaner, rusty stuff is going to get an Evaporust bath plastic stuff that should be white. I've got a plan for brightening up all these dingy yellow plastics and making them white again. So let's get to that and I'll go over piece by piece. All right, I got the first batch queued up here in the ultrasonic cleaner. This one's going to be all the plastics, the posts, the pop bumpers, the little lane guides and all that. The second batch will be all the metal stuff. So go ahead and close this up. I can figure out the right way. I'll do 280. And once you hear the ear-piercing squealing, that means it's working. Okay, everything is out of the ultrasonic cleaner. It's looking a lot better. Down here is all the plastic stuff. A lot of it's still pretty yellowed. You can see here kind of what they're supposed to look like. And a lot of these are almost brown. But I've got an idea I'm going to try tomorrow for turning a lot of these white plastics back to bright white. We'll see if that works. Over here, I got some metal pieces sitting in the evaporust. So that should clean those up pretty good. But for right now, what I need to do is start cleaning the big plastics. So basically turning a plastic like this into one like this. So I've got my plastics here that need to be cleaned. For the most part, I've just been using this mean green. It's a degreaser, so it gets rid of a lot of the greasy smoke stains and stuff. I might try the Novus one just to see how that goes. But this is the plastic I've really been looking forward to cleaning, because this in the middle is supposed to be clear. So I want to see just how clear I can get it. I need to be real careful about scrubbing anywhere that there's ink, because that will come off. But for the top side, it's real easy. Just get it nice and wet. Get your microfiber. Already, that is looking way better. So I'm going to try the back side. Be a little more careful. I'm not going to scrub as hard. I do want to get the middle wet though. And a little spritz on the sides. Let's see if we can do this without losing any ink. Just rubbing really lightly. Let the middle soak a little bit. Don't see any ink coming off, so that's a good sign. It's way better. A little bit more in the middle. Give the middle a good scrub. And that might be about as good as it gets. It is now clear, although it's still pretty yellowed. But that's just going to be how the plastics are for this machine, I think. I would love to put a new set of plastics on the whole thing, but it's just not in the budget for this renovation. So I'm making do with what we got. And we have a pretty clean plastic, even though it's, like I said, yellowed. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And that'll sit over that little saucer that kicks the ball out. So on to the rest. Actually, I want to try Novus 1 on this little piece. It says plastic clean and shine. I want to see if it does as good as the simple green. I'm not expecting this to remove any of the yellowing. But it does a pretty good job at degreasing. Let's see if it can clean up the backside without taking any paint off. Yeah, I'd say that looks alright. Probably about on par. So yeah, if you've got the Novus one, that'll probably do the trick. But the mean green is cheaper and you get more of it. So if you're doing a lot of stuff, I'd probably stick with the mean green. Anyway, let me go ahead and get to the rest of these plastics. Told you I had a plan to brighten up these plastics, and here it is. The secret technique I learned on Pinside, where you soak the plastics in a mixture of peroxide and OxyClean, and then you put them out in the sun, and it's supposed to react. The sun is supposed to activate the peroxide and OxyClean together and bleach the plastics. So we'll see. I've got all the stuff that's supposed to be white in the bag. A lot of it is really yellow. And we'll see if it works. I'll update with the results. So the plastics are done soaking in the sun. Here are the results. I would say overall, kind of hit and miss. There were some instances like the pop bumper plastics really turned out good. I mean, this one is almost back to completely white. The passive bumpers, not quite as good. They're still a little stained, but I think the material of the plastic really makes a difference. You can tell from these pop bumper bottoms. The active ones really cleaned up good, while the passive ones, it's kind of this more clear plastic, and it really did not clear up much. Pop bumper caps, they turned out all right. The tops didn't clear up as much as the bottoms, but it did lose some ink. I actually ordered new pop bumper caps, which is why I experimented on these in the first place. But you can see the ink, especially on this one, got pretty light. So I would not recommend putting painted plastics of any kind in the peroxide solution. I did try one non-painted plastic, and initially I was a little disappointed by this one. I thought it would get really clear, and it didn't. But if you look for reference, here's one that I did not put in the peroxide, and you can see it actually did clear up quite a bit compared to this untreated plastic here. So yeah, a little bit of an improvement there. Unfortunately, the posts really didn't see much help. The really bad ones are still pretty bad. They might have brightened up a little bit, but nothing like the acorn caps here and these little posts. They all brightened up pretty good. But whatever material, it seems like any kind of shiny plastic material just does not react very well with the peroxide. So anyway, that's the result of my plastic experiment. That's as good as they're going to get. Definitely a little better. I think these, the passive pop bumpers, they used to look all like that. The outsides are looking a little better. But yeah, I think it helped. I think it was worth it. I just wish the posts brightened up a little bit more. But anyway, enough with all the parts. I have more parts up here. Everything, all the parts are clean at this point. And now the only thing left to do is clean the playfield. And I've got a couple of options for that. I actually asked on the Pinball Repair Help group what people recommend for an old playfield like this. And one thing I saw recommended a lot was alcohol and magic eraser. They said just spray some alcohol and magic eraser and start scrubbing, and it works wonders. So I'm going to try that. I haven't tried that yet. My initial thought was to go with naphtha on a magic eraser, but some people said on an old playfield like this, naphtha might be a little too harsh. It might eat through some of the paint. And so I definitely don't want to lose paint. I want to brighten the playfield up, but I don't want to lose any paint. And then for really tough embedded dirt, I might try some Novus on a rag and see if I can smooth any of that out, reduce some ball swirls. But again, I don't want to remove any paint. Initially, I thought maybe I'd go with something like Mean Green because it's a degreaser and it might clear up some of the old cigarette residue. But the problem with Mean Green is it's water-based and there's a lot of exposed wood on this playfield. And I'm worried any water getting absorbed into the wood could cause it to expand and crack and flake off paint. So I'm going to avoid anything water-based, which is why I'm going to start with the alcohol and maybe naphtha, and we'll go from there. So yeah, let's start cleaning this bad boy. All right, so here's the playfield after a good long scrub. What I found was the magic eraser was working well, but there was kind of a thick layer of grime over the whole playfield. So I did one full coat scrubbing with just a rag and some rubbing alcohol. And that seemed to get most of the grime off. And then I did a whole, really 2 passes with naphtha and a magic eraser, which I wanted to be careful with because I didn't want to take any paint off. But this playfield was so dirty, and it still looks pretty dirty, but it did help a lot, especially up here, like where that electrical tape was. This area around the saucer is much cleaner looking. The whole orbit up here looks a lot better. But there's still areas like the flames here. You can see the ground in dirt. And especially these circles you can see kind of close to what the original color was. And the whole playfield is pretty yellowed. And there's just really no taking that back to the original colors. So I could do another pass with magic erasers, but I'm a little worried about taking paint off. You can see up here, it's really kind of flecking and planking. So I'm pretty worried about paint coming off up here, especially up here by the super. So I don't really want to scrub much more than I already did. I took all the surface dirt off. The playfield feels nice and smooth. I think what you're seeing now is just like ground in dirt and ball trails and things like that. So I think what I'm going to do now is call it good and go ahead and wax the whole thing. I think waxing it will really bring the colors out. It really looked best when I was cleaning it and I kind of got an area wet with the alcohol, and the colors would really shine. So I'm going to give it a good wax. We'll see how it looks after that. Here it is, all waxed up and shiny. Still doesn't look great, but it looks a lot better than it did. And it's about as good as this playfield's going to get, I think. There's just not much I can do about the ground in dirt and the yellowing, but at least all the surface dirt is cleared off. It's nice and smooth and waxed and slick, so it should play pretty well. So that means it's time to start putting it back together. And I'm going to start with the flippers because I want to test those out and make sure everything's working and playable. So let's get started on flippers. I hit a little bit of a roadblock already because, as you can see in that hole, one of the screws sheared off at some point. So that means I'm going to have to drill that broken screw off so that I can get the base plate for the coil in there. So I'm going to go ahead and drill that out now. I got one coil installed. It seems to be behaving correctly. You can see it's separating the end of stroke switch when it closes. I still need to get the wires hooked back up. I'm going to do the other flipper first, and then I'll do all the soldering. And here is the final product with both flippers installed and soldered. I think I have the wiring right. It's the main power to the single lug, number 3. We got the end of stroke switch in the middle, and then the power loop with the other end of the stroke switch on the first lug, which is number 1 on the little diagram. On the other side, it's backwards. The main power is 3 up here, and then 1 down here with the power loop. And I have both switches opening when the flipper is plunged. So hopefully that all works. I'm about to fire it up and we'll see what happens. First power on with the flippers. Here we go. Either everything is going to blow up or the flippers are going to work. All right, the game came on. I'm going to try the flipper button. Okay. It hasn't started the game yet. All right, the game has started. Now that coil tried to kick the ball out. That's cool. All right, flipper button. Here we go. All Hey, would you look at that? It works. You can hold it. Nice and snappy. I'm not sure about the action. I feel like it's a little short. Let me try the other side. Yeah, it looks like it's working. I might have to adjust the angles a little bit. I don't think they're completely even, but at least as far as flipping goes, I think it works. All right. You know what that means. It's time to start putting the whole thing back together. So I have all the easy stuff on the playfield back together. And it's not looking too bad. I mean, the plastics are still a little yellow, but they're nice and shiny. I got the playfield itself as slick as it's going to get. Nice new rubbers and new flippers. So, it's not looking too bad. But, of course, that means the last thing I have to do is pop bumpers, which is what all this mess over here is. So let's get started. You can see here I've got the new pop caps. I tried the peroxide bath on the old ones, and it lightened them up a little bit, but it lost all the gold lettering. So I ordered some new ones for that. I got to put all these back together. Now, in theory, pop bumpers aren't too complicated. You got a pop bumper body. You got this little bottom piece and a spring. And that just the spring goes in there. Body goes on like that. Oh, and then you have to have, which is the right skirt. Yeah, these yellower skirts go on these back ones. The Evel Knievel's got something interesting I've never seen before, which is these in the back here. These are passive pop bumpers where they don't have the ring mechanism that pops the ball. They just have the little skirt and the ball hits it and it triggers and scores points. I think that's a holdover from some older like EM games, but I've never seen that on a game I've worked on before, so that's kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm going to get these put together. These ones get the EK caps, which are really yellowed, but those are burned from like light bulbs being on for too long. So I couldn't really clean those up. But anyway, let me get these back together and installed. So with the pop bumper skirt assembled, I've pre-placed the screws in there and just drop it into the slot, screw it down. Then you take the housing for the light, drop it into the little holes, and I'll go around to the back of the playfield and solder this back in later. Now the rest of the assembly up here can go on, but this part's a little tricky because this ring needs to go around the pop bumper and this post, but the post can't be screwed on until after the ring is installed. So I'm going to have to do a little finagling there. But these front ones get the little small rings. Well, that was tricky. I felt like I kind of needed 3 hands there, but I was able to get it threaded through and nice and secure. Well, I think this one was even worse than the other one, but got them both in there. The skirts are nice and springy, so I can move on to the easier ones now. Okay, these ones are not as simple as I thought because I forgot the ring that has to go on these actually active pop bumpers, not the passive ones. So that's how it should look with the ring installed. Then you line that up through the holes, drop it in, and it fits. Then you just drop the light socket in. This one is complete. And with all the pop bumper skirts installed, it's time to lift the playfield and get things finished up from the bottom side. Okay, before I go under the playfield, I just want to say real quick, getting those little lamp legs back down in the pop bumper skirts was not easy. They kept getting hung up for some reason. So what I figured out is if you loosen the screws holding the pop bumper bodies to the playfield, you can kind of lift and wiggle the whole assembly around, and that'll help you thread the legs through the holes. So with enough wiggling, I was finally able to get all of them through, and now I can go under the playfield and start soldering stuff. All right, with the legs all in place, it's time to solder. With all the pop bumpers installed, this game is assembled. You can see my parts table over here, pretty much empty. Those are the parts I replaced. I haven't screwed in the back plastics yet because I'm still going to be lifting the playfield. I don't want to risk shipping those or breaking them. But yeah, this game is back together and playable. I tested out the pop bumpers a little bit, and they are doing the pop bumper thing, so I think they're good. Even the passive ones back there. And yeah, I think this game is assembled and playable. Now there is a couple small issues I've seen. A couple lights aren't working, like the U on Super, the one under that lane guide, and especially these arrows, the red arrows in the middle, they're supposed to kind of scroll across while you're playing. Currently they aren't lighting up at all, so I think there's a little more wiring work I need to do in the back box. But for the most part, I think it's looking pretty good. So I think I'm going to end this video here for right now. It seems like right now the rest of the game's working pretty much 100%. So once the lamp issues are resolved, it should be good to go. So I'll make one more video about fixing all the lights, and otherwise, I think it's looking pretty good. I'll go ahead and do some gameplay. We'll see how it's playing.